So today we're very happy to have three couples who have been users of Creighton Model System for various number of years, and they're going to speak to you about how they became involved in Creighton Model System and also how it's benefited them, how it's affected their lives. So our first couple would be Pat and Steve Notestein.
I usually say that our story is a little bit different than the other stories you're going to hear this afternoon because we came into natural family planning in our marriage later. We were married 14 years before we discovered natural family planning. And at the beginning of our marriage, we contracepted. We used the birth control pill. And there was really never any discussion between my husband and myself. We always just knew we were going to contracept. So I would say that, you know, the years went by. We conceived our two children early in our marriage. And after that, we just, you know, we had a boy, we had a girl. We kind of decided our family was finished. So I went back to using the birth control pill and did that for a number of years. And then I just started having, you know, just a tweak of conscience, I guess. I suddenly, I think through the grace of God, realized that this was something I shouldn't be doing. So the first step was to talk to my husband about it, who was very shocked because, as I said, you know, I had never discussed my qualms about it before. And but he was very supportive and said, you know, if this is something that you feel that strongly about, you know, I think you have to address it. My next step was to approach my doctor, the same doctor who had delivered my babies. And, you know, he was pretty shocked too and told me that there was really no reason for me to be concerned about taking the pill. He was, by the way, a Catholic doctor in a Catholic hospital. And, you know, he assured me everything was fine. But at this point, I had made up my mind, and I wasn't going to change it. And I said, well, this is what I want to do. And he was very dismissive, told me I could probably find something out about it, you know, out at his reception's desk.
We really didn't have much of a communication. I would leave all day and I'd go to work, and Pat would be at home with the kids. When I would come home and she'd want to talk about my day, you know, I just spent the whole day doing that. I didn't really want to talk about it anymore. So one of the things when we got into this natural family planning is when we saw Diane, her first question to us was, are you all open to life? I'd never thought about that. I mean, we had two kids who were probably 9 and 10 or 11 at the time. My family was done. I really wasn't open because Pat was on the pill. We didn't have to be open. We didn't have to really be open to God's plan for us because we were in charge. And God became more and more a part of our marriage and then our lives. Our marriage is now kind of a triangle with Pat and I and Jesus. It's been a wonderful thing to bring Pat and I closer together, bringing our family closer together. Our kids were almost teenagers at the time, and when Pat and I kind of made some adjustments to our lives, the kids were didn't kind of get what was going on with you know, mom and dad and their new interest in the church and each other and talking about you know, God and our family and things like that.
I'd like to introduce Tim and Teresa Kurt now. Tim and Teresa are also parents of some small children.
Started actually before we were even married. And for me, probably when I was a teenager. So when I was 20, I decided that I really needed to investigate some things that had been going on with my own body. I'd been put on the pill when I was 16 to clear up acne and regulate my cycles. And at about the age of 20, I decided, I wonder why I've been taking this pill. You know, I wonder what's wrong with me. So I went to a female doctor in the St. Louis area, and I got a phone call from a nurse who said, oh, honey, you have a type of infertility. That's what we found out from your blood work that we got back. You have a type of infertility, but don't worry, when you want to get pregnant someday, you'll just probably will have to take some pills. I was 20. I didn't really understand the diagnosis. It was polycystic ovarian disease. And I had all these thoughts, would somebody want to marry me if I wasn't going to be able to have babies? I think we still were really scared at what our future would bring.
So I still kind of bought into a lot of the stereotypes of the rhythm method and all the Catholic stereotypes and the jokes and basically what's accepted by society today. And so I thought automatically, even wanting to enter into our marriage with this sense of integrity and preparing in the right way. But I thought, at least going into it, that, okay, here's where I could pull, well, our life is more complicated than what the church teaches, so now we're going to be on our own and I would be free. In fact, I even used I thought of it as a get out of jail free card, is what I thought in the middle. And it took Diane, I think, about 3 minutes into the opening session. Oh no! In fact, this is a perfect solution for couples who are struggling with that same condition. So there went that line of defense, and we started on the marriage preparation program. I remember Diane would begin the sessions, and we'd go through these things, and after every moment or something, when she'd talk about the nuances of what was happening with the Creighton method, she would say, "Isn't that wonderful?" Or you were cultivating appreciation for the gift of your sexuality, because growing up, both in my culture, even in school and just environment, it just was, fertility was something that you feared, or you were going to manage, or you were going to put away, or you were scared, or you didn't deal with it, or you ignored it. It wasn't something you embraced as a gift and worked with. Teresa talks about being out of town. I had to go to one session by myself. And I thought, oh, this would be, fine, I'll go in. And 5 minutes in, you're into one of Diane's slides talking about cervical mucus. And I couldn't bury my head further into my notebook and wonder, why am I here, But the presentation went very well, and it was very informative. And only as the end of the presentation started, when she got around to how important the Creighton model is for advising couples who want to achieve pregnancy instead of just avoiding pregnancy. Because at the time, that was our focus. We were beginning marriage. We didn't feel we were ready for kids right away, and nor God was calling us to have kids right as we were being married. So we were focused on how are we going to avoid. And the question in the back of my mind was also this long-term question of, well, how will we eventually be able to have children? And
this weight of being infertile was on my mind 24/7. And I took a pregnancy test for about the 100th time, and there was the lightest second line on that pregnancy test. We got a little Thomas, and that was just a testament to a lot of time, a lot of energy communicating, praying, grieving, being pulled towards our faith, and being really drawn out of ourselves and asking God to be part of our struggle there.
And that, I'll never forget when Dr. Dixon presented Thomas to us, he said, that's not bad for a couple that ovulates once a year, There's lots of couples who don't realize all the science that's been grounded in truth, and you feel like you just have this secret knowledge, and it's not secret at all. It's out there, in every text you want to look at. The trouble is people don't want to look at it because it's not necessarily the easiest answer, or the answer that our culture today wants to offer. And so I think those are two big gifts we had. We could unite ourselves in our faith in our most intimate parts of our lives. It brings about a healthy sense of communication. It helps us raise our children in a way that we think is in accordance with God's will, and it helps overall just Teresa's and our health.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Brian and Kathleen Nieberge.
We were blessed as we started to get to know each other and started dating, to know kind of from the beginning of our time together that we wanted to follow what the church was asking us for our relationship. And
my family did, and my Catholic grade school upbringing did a great job of teaching me abstinence and the concept of waiting to get married to have sexual activity. I learned that well. But it was truly from Diane coming to my junior year in high school class and teaching about, giving that intro course that helped me to realize you know, if I'm not going to use contraception before I'm married, I'm not going to want to use it while I am married too. I remember sitting in a desk in that classroom and thinking, yeah, this makes sense. And it was so subtle, but I heard it at the right time, I think. It was just the way it was going to be for us. And I didn't know anything beyond that. I didn't really know any details beyond that introductory concept, you know, of what we would be doing eventually. But I knew, and therefore we knew that that's what we wanted to do. And when I was about 20 years old, I went to see an OBGYN for the first time. And I went to a woman that just my regular doctor recommended to me, and she offered me the pill, but I was able to say no thanks. And I think because of that foundation that I had. It was Diane who encouraged me to see a different doctor, and then she got us on the right path for charting even before we were married. I mean, I was charting while I was engaged, which was a great thing to have this all worked out, you know, even before we were married, and then to start seeing a doctor who was not going to offer me something that was so contrary to my health, truly.
When Kathleen started this process of learning about her fertility, she became aware of some issues with the hormone cycle, I guess is the simplest way to say that. And it was challenging and difficult at first, and pretty scary for her, frankly, and for both of us at first, as we started to learn that, you know, this may not be the simple process that we thought it was going to be, you know, and thankfully we never considered contracepting or anything like that. But we learned that there would be some challenges possibly with her conceiving, and maybe more so than with conceiving, with the child being able to carry, implant. And this is where, you know, we get this great thanks to God, because He showed this to us in advance of our marriage. So we were able to early on start to address these issues and learn about them and get them corrected and take all the various steps that we needed to do to correct the issue so that Kathleen's cycle would be good. And when we were ready, when the time came, when God told us this is time for us to have children, Kathleen and I, we've been married for 12 years now, and we, you know, it's not all been a bed of roses, but it's been pretty close. And it keeps getting better and better and better every year. And I think a lot of that is because we have this trust in each other. We know we know that God is right there with us, and He's a part of our relationship and a part of our marriage, and we've never cut Him out of that. Mm-hmm. And so He has blessed us in ways that we can't even, you know, I can't even articulate to you here today, that I'm not even aware of.
To learn Creighton model would just be like out of this world, because you never, I think it impacts couples differently, but always for the positive. And, you know, and so for us, it helped us to completely avoid miscarriages, and it's helped me to know the details of my cycle, so that I can so confidently know when would be the right time to be able to conceive if we're ready to have another baby. When is it best to try to avoid, but at the same time knowing that all that is within the framework of keeping God right in the middle of it and not shutting Him out. It's because women are so out of touch with their bodies, but if they are doing this, they're not. It's the complete opposite.